Hey everyone, Rin here. Just wanted to add some notes and context that my viewers might need for this video. I was invited into an interview and collaboration hosted by Yoon, a fellow Amber main and a voice actor of many, and to keep it related to Genshin, he voiced Kujo, Takayuki, and Yata Koki. The guest of this interview was Jen Losi, another voice actor, and to keep related to Genshin again, she voiced Ganyu. The interview was mainly about her career as a voice actor, while I was there to showcase my Amber. Originally, the idea was to interview and do a bit of a competition, but we ended up just running around Teyvat farming for materials while chatting. I don't speak much during this, but June offered this collaboration to post on my channel, and I personally enjoyed the interview because I have been interested in voice acting just as a hobby, which I frequently do during my live streams while I play JRPGs with my friends. Hopefully this podcast video will also be helpful to others who are interested in voice acting. They share a lot of their experiences, which was really interesting to hear. They are also among some of the most chill and friendly content creators I have met, something that I've been slowly working myself toward to because I quite enjoy the calm and comfortable vibes that they both provide in their communities. So definitely check them both out. Links below, of course, whether you want Q&As with June about voice acting or other things, or theory crafting with Jen, who makes whatever you want available work to the best of its ability. Anyway, thank you for listening to this, and enjoy the rest of the video.
Hello, rintaichou with the raid. Good to see you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to C6 Impact, a special edition and a wonderful stream with the English voice of Ganyu, Jen Losi, and the #1 Amber main, my favorite Amber main, rintaichou. Hi, everybody. Hi, both of you.
Too.
Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hello. It's my 7-month sub-anniversary. That's exciting.
It's been in plans for so long. I'm so happy that everybody's here. As we play through these monsters in Teyvat, we'll be talking with Jen about her journey, interviewing her as a voice actor and game dev and all the other hats that she wears, including Twitch stream. Please go say hi to her. We'll be talking about her journey, her history, who she is and what she does, as well as Rin, and as we observe the Amber Flex down the line as we go, I'm sure.
Yes.
And I am so happy to have both of you here on the stream. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us. What's nice is Ganyu is so powerful that I don't have to be that good, and I've been faking it for a while because she does the work for me, and I appreciate that about her.
Well, today will be the day that we expose the real finger clicks of the mouse.
How typical that she's doing the work for me. That's very Ganyu, isn't it? That she's doing everyone else's everything.
Ooh, okay, let's get this going. I love it. The first thing I'll do is have the two of you join my world. Oh my gosh. This is the very first hype train I've ever had. This is insane. Hi.
Everybody get on board. Do you know if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free?
For free?
For free $99. You too can get some really cute emotes. And you should.
Indeed. Does rintaichou give you amber ribbons for rewards? No. I do.
Rin's like, I am the reward. Thank you very much. So...
Let's first head over to the perpetual mechanical array. I'm currently in pursuit of bringing my Goro to 70-80, and all I'm missing are the hearts here. So I'd like to see the two of your bow users flex in this capacity.
Let's do it.
Let's head on over to Inazuma and drop into the thing here, and I'll ask Ganyu, and if Ganyu, I'll ask Jen her very first question as we go.
I'm just teleporting to the empty boat, right? I forget.
Oh dear.
I don't have this unlocked. I did all my Goro farming in Corey's world, which feels right. So I can't remember. I think I just joined while he was already over there. Okay, cool.
Oh, I see.
Because I was very lazy.
You did as well. So the very first question I like to ask everybody here, Jen, is about the little Jen, right? We all have a origin story while we were like as kids. What were you like as a little kid? What was the little Jen like?
I mean, this just shorter, really. I think, I always loved computer games and cartoons and being silly and talking too much. We were really lucky that we had a computer from when I was very little, and so we have never separated since. I don't think I knew like what voice acting necessarily was as a kid. I just know I loved animation and games that had really incredible performances, and so I guess it was inevitable what has happened. But I mean, I was always just kind of hyper and silly, and I was probably more shy than I am now. Super nerdy, I bet that'll shock you.
Not a shock at all.
Not
at all.
I think anyone who knew me when I was little is not surprised that I am this.
But I guess that's the real question. Like, do people change as from their really kid selves, especially as actors, as we try to tap into our innocence in a degree? Like, do we ever let that go at all? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly more cynical now than I was as a kid, but I think I was always kind of like, I was like 13 going on 30 when I was a kid, so...
Now, I know for a fact that you're originally from New York.
That's true, I'm from Long Island.
There we go. That accent is something
Long Island.
I'm deeply in love with, in fact.
Well, you are the only one, my friend.
I disagree. Everybody in the chat loves the accent. I really think so.
I'll do it in this voice. Well. I had an old job of mine. I had a boss that was like, wait, you're from where? Talk in the voice. And he's like, oh my God, do that all day. And 6 minutes into the meeting we had, I was still talking like this. And he was like, never do that again. I said, no, you wanted this all day. I did it for like 2 more minutes. And he was like, I'm gonna fire you. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm stopping. But I never really had this accent growing up, you know, like certain words I have, but I think I was so surrounded by it. Like, my dad worked in advertising, and so he would, like, have a very clean voice when he was talking to clients, and then immediately have, like, a Long Island accent, you know, on the phone with his mother, so. But I say orange, I say tournament, I say horrible. So I have my tell words if I'm not careful. I'll say orange and horrible and tournament, but that's not what my heart wants.
But it's gotta assist in the acting in some way.
No! You know why? I don't know if it's like this for you. You know, you get a lot of auditions for animation and they'll say accent not New York. Because everyone is like, oh, a tough character, I'm gonna do like a New York accent. And they don't wanna hear it anymore. And unless the character is specifically New York, then they don't want it. And so it doesn't serve me. I do more Southern accents for projects than I've never done a New York accent in a game or anything. But I have been Southern more times than I can count. It's crazy. I don't know what that's about.
It's terrible, is what it is.
It's horrible.
It's horrible, indeed. I mean, writing to all of my game dev people that I know, please create more New Yorkie characters so we can
I don't bring Ganyu to this one, necessarily.
It's okay. It's okay.
We're gonna wait until that shield's down and I'll become a useful person. It's fine.
I got you, don't worry. I got you. I was just like in awe of the accent that you just threw out all of a sudden because I had no idea. It was like, whoa.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's rough.
It catches you, really.
But I'll pick it up if I go to New York. Like, if I go home, I have an accent by the end of the trip. And my mom, her accent's been getting stronger by the year. Like, her power level is increasing Dragon Ball style because, you know, she lives in the city and she works there and everyone around her is a New Yorker. It's becoming stronger and more, whereas mine is less and less until I call her and then I have a massive New York accent for like 48 hours. So I have to be really careful that I don't pick it up.
I mean, I think being from, I've traveled to New York once and it was lovely. It's hot and sticky and humid, but it was really lovely.
And it smells like pee, but it's home. Yeah.
But you're in LA now. I'm sure a lot of actors, the whole story of getting on a Greyhound bus and coming to LA to become an actor is this romantic thing. But
that would have been cheaper. I should have done that.
Was that your story? Clearly not. What was the story behind moving to LA?
I went to school in the Midwest, and I keep saying I just keep needing to move further and further west periodically, so I'm just gonna like find a place in the middle of the Pacific soon to migrate. But I went to college for theater, and also I was really interested in costume design. And I was looking at master's programs around, and there were several in California that had both strong costuming and like MFA acting programs. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll move to California. School is expensive, so I'll become a resident and I'll go to grad school for free. I'll go to one of the state schools, or, you know, I'll be very little out of pocket compared to the massive debt I'm in from undergrad. And so I moved to LA thinking I'm gonna become a resident, I'm gonna go back to school, I'm gonna pursue that. And then I got distracted by the video game industry for a long time because I needed a job. So I came here thinking I was gonna become a resident. I did apply for grad school for a bit, and I'm actually grateful I didn't get in because I think I'm happier having done the things I did. Yeah, I worked in video games for a very long time as a producer. That was the job. My first year out here, I was answering phones at an ad agency, which I don't recommend doing. And then I moved into video game development until I, eventually quit for like the third time to do voiceover for real. And I'm gonna try to make that stick, but we'll see.
And
We'll
you
see.
were in video game development for a number of years. Long
For about
time.
200 years.
200 years.
And I started on the publisher side as a tester, and I moved into business development and was helping identify excellent partners for us to work with. And then one of the games we were looking at bringing in, I ended up moving into production on, and I became an associate producer. And over the years, I eventually moved to development side to the point where I was a senior producer running my own team on our own internal games. Been through all the pieces of game development, and now I live in the post-production VO side, which is nice. Because when I look at a spreadsheet, it just tells me what to do, and I don't have to budget it or any of that.
There is still a lot to do.
Let the kids handle that.
Yeah, I mean, I do that for other projects, but as a voice actor, you're right, it wasn't 200 years, Kimmy. It was like 190, but I mean, I rounded up.
She's only 24.
So
Come on
I
now.
still am looking at video game spreadsheets all day. It's just this time the screaming is pre-written for me. I don't just do it existentially.
Phenomenal. And for anyone who might be considering like a career change or a development into game dev, because that's certainly a thing, right? It might
I mean,
kids
it is
even
a thing.
interested in game dev. Like what would be a reason? What would be a reason for somebody, a good reason, to go into game dev? What are some good things about
I
that?
mean, well, look, there's plenty of good things about game dev, but, do it if you love it. Do anything because you love it. What's interesting is, people think about game development and they think, okay, like designers, engineers, artists, but there's so many facets of game development that people don't realize are there. Production, localization, audio, obviously, UI. No matter what your interest is, there's probably a facet of game dev that meets it. But there's something really exciting about, being part of that creative process, even when you're not in a creative job. Like, as a producer, my job, if I do it well, is to facilitate everyone else doing their job well, and getting the obstacles out of their way so that you're just like the tank. You're like, I'm going to tank all the crazy, and you just do your job. And I certainly have creative decision-making depending on the project, but it's a lot of not sexy stuff like that. It's a lot of scheduling and planning and meetings and more meetings. But there are people who thrive on that. I do love production. I'm good at it. But that's not something I ever would have thought about as a kid playing a video game. You're like, someday I'm going to be the person who does the 2-year plan for this. Like, no, that's insane. There's so many ways, like, in the professional world to be making games, but there's also just hobbyist stuff that's really fun. All these engines are free now. You can get Unity, you can get Unreal, and you can just play and watch a video on YouTube about how to make stuff and, recreate, my advice always recreate a really small version of something you love to learn all the pieces and all the behind the scenes stuff before you start worrying about making your own thing. I mean, don't go sell that. Don't be like the people making Wordle apps and making money off of that right now. Don't be that person. But, you can be like, I'm going to recreate 1-1 from Super Mario and see what that takes. What does that take mechanics-wise? How does that work? What is rigging? All that kind of stuff. There's so many parts of game dev that you don't have to, quote, be good at a certain thing to find a space for you, which is my encouraging word. Because everyone's like, well, I'm not a programmer and I'm not an artist and I'm not a designer. What can I do? And I'm like, about 90 other things. Marketing, PR, there's so much. Community. I'll stop listing every possible part of game development.
No,
QA,
but I want to just kind of bounce off of that as well. There's apparently a lot that we don't know about game dev. And just known as you make games. Clearly, there's more. Like, what are some misconceptions, perhaps, that the public may have about games?
Oh, I have so many. This could be the whole stream, June. I think the biggest one is, you'll see comments like a developer, like some you might care about their notes. This is, but all of them. They'll put out like notes of like, here's what's coming in the next patch, and people will be like, yeah, but okay, but why didn't you do this? And it's like, well, they probably are. The person who is gonna fix like a lighting bug is not the person who is coding the AI on a monster, and that's not the person who's designing new outfits for an upcoming character, and that's not the person writing quest text. There are people who are like, 1, 2, 3 person game developers, but at a game on a scale of like Genshin Impact, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And so why did you do this when I wanted you to do X is like my biggest pet peeve, because like that's not the same person. And for a game, and this is not specific to Genshin, I'm obviously not a developer for this game, but I've worked on live titles before. A live title being something that has perpetual content that's going on forever, isn't something in a box that's one and done. Even though that's not a thing anymore now with DLC and title updates. But, there's always going to be a plan for future content, but then you have things that happen that you don't expect, right? Like, oh, there's a bug somebody found in the live environment that we couldn't do in the test environment, so someone has to fix that. Well, if you have an engineer fixing a bug, that means they're not doing that new feature they had planned to do those 2 weeks. And so there's so much juggling, and that's where production comes in, of what are priorities? What do we fix that's necessary? What has a low sort of return for the player base? What is going to uphold future work if we don't deal with it? And so there's just so many moving pieces. It's not one-size-fits-all fixes for the team. And you have to make those judgment calls constantly, and it's super stressful. And so I'm always like, please give developers grace and expect that, they're doing what they can in the timeline that they've had approved by the people paying for the game, and also trying to respond to player feedback and create quality of life changes and doing all of that. And to say, to speak specifically about Genshin, I think the quality of life improvements they make every update are awesome. They do listen to feedback. We get so many improvements to the game that are happening in tandem with new stuff every 2 weeks. I swore at the game today when I opened it, because I haven't even played Wind Trace yet. And I'm like, wait, Lantern Rite started now? I thought I had another week. Expletive. I think just the TLDR of that is there's so many decisions that go into game making on an hourly basis that there's just a lot that you don't know about or see or have to know about as a player, that it's very easy to be impatient and forget that a decision might involve 10 people or 50 people. No one's just gonna if you've seen Mythic Quest, you're not gonna put something into the game on a Friday night and it works on Monday and somehow magically all departments have worked on it in 24 hours. That's not game dev. That show gives me a lot of agita and I can't watch it. Something as simple as how does this character move is gonna take a designer, a gameplay programmer, maybe AI if they have a pet that, fights with them. Narrative reasons you make choices about the character's costume, future-proofing stuff of we know we're going to have this, and can the animations work with that, and can we draw that kind of weapon without clipping through a costume we might make in a year from now? There's so much to think about, and I think you don't know what that is until you're deep inside that pit, and you go, oh my god. Every decision has a butterfly effect of 50 more ways this can make you sad. So that's game dev. Game dev is what if we did this and then how will this hurt us in 6 months from now?
Just not making games. I guess right. There's so many cogs. I never knew.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It's wild. It's really wild how much, you're thinking, oh, okay, cool. A character has a new animation. Well, somebody had to rig that, which is taking the skeleton of the character and making sure all the animations can play nicely and they have the tools they need. And then is that going to clip through the costume? Do we care? There's games. I'm really impressed with the hair in this game. The hair doesn't really clip through clothes versus other games. The hair is inside the characters all the time, and you're like, ah. But I understand why, because physics is weighty and you have to deal with it.
I'm impressed by blades of grass moving.
Oh my gosh.
It's so pretty. My goodness.
That's why Ganyu has her little perma ponytail, because that way it doesn't clip through her pretty clothes.
Makes perfect sense. I love it.
My headcanon for this is not official, is that if you've ever had long hair, folks, and you've put it in a ponytail all day with a too tight rubber band, at the end of the day you still have a ponytail. And so I imagine she just left a scrunchie in for about 200 years and forgot, and now it's just like this.
As you said that line, she went falling asleep on my screen.
I mean,
sleeping near enemies. Chi-Chi's been telling you.
Please don't be Jen Losi said it's canon. It's my personal headcanon as a ponytail wearer. I get headphone hair. Do you have that problem in June? If I ever have a session, your hair is wet, and then you have a permanent headphone hair
all the time.
Afterwards.
Walk around with a band of pressed down hair right here. Yep. Dropping the kids off. Hi everybody. Yeah, that's just headphones. Yep. Just to take that knowledge and the resources that that you have in your brain that you've been telling us this whole time.
Now, it made everyone sad and nobody wants to make games.
To focus it into the perspective of a voice actor, of all the things that game devs do. I'm pretty certain, it's confirmed by others that I've seen before, pretty certain that various game dev folks, no matter the size of the company, receive cold emails from voice actors. Is that advisable?
No, don't. You don't have to finish the question. Leave the devs alone. They don't want to hear about your microphone. They don't. They're tired and they can't. No, in all seriousness, most game companies, will have some audio person specifically dealing with casting, and not every place has an internal casting person. If you email like a random programmer at like Ubisoft and they're like, hey, you know what? I love me some Far Cry. Can I get up on that? Like, they're just gonna delete that because they can't do anything with it. And honestly, they probably have no idea who casts the game. I will of course give the exceptions to this, and I'm being a little silly, but if there's like a 1,200 person developer, like going through LinkedIn, because I get them on LinkedIn and it makes me absolutely bonkers. Even now that I don't work in game, I'll be like, hey, I'm a voice actor. And I'm like, cool, I don't know you. And they're like, and I really would love to be on the Disney Channel. And I'm like, same, bro. I don't know how to help you with that. It's hard for something like that because I'm not going to vouch for someone I've never met or heard their voice and they're just sending me some random LinkedIn message. But, developers that do want to hear, because that's what people are like, okay, stop telling negative stuff, Jen. Here's something good. There are plenty of folks casting indie games or even indie game developers that are doing, that might be small enough where they also handle the casting, and that's a lot on Twitter. I follow some independent casting directors on Twitter who are like, yeah, we have a casting call, and here's a Google Doc, and the auditions are due at this date. And those folks generally will say, hey, we're looking for men who, we're looking for like a Korean dad character type. Please respond with your demo reel if that is you. And then there's 3 kinds of responses I see on Twitter. I don't have a reel, but voiceover is cool. Can I be in your game? LOL. And then there's a, yes, get in my DMs. Again, no, don't do that. Or, hello, my name is Yoon, and here is my reel, and I'm a professional voice actor, and here's where you can sound, and I have a home studio, and I would love to hear from you. And ding, 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 that is the correct way to respond. Because those are the folks who want to hear about you. Random poor junior engineer guy at Ubi who's like, please leave me alone, I am so tired. That's not gonna help you. Look, if you have a friend at a studio, but I don't even do that. Like, I have friends at studios not like, hey, can you pass my stuff along? Because they're like, no, I don't know who casts it, it's some outside person and no one tells me, I'm just a programmer. But, you can easily find, casting calls on Twitter and look for the folks that are working on projects, that look legit or make the light of day, and you see, oh, they cast this game I really liked that I played last year. I'm gonna follow them, and the next time they have a casting call I'm right for, I'm gonna submit. That's a really good way to start building those relationships with independent casting folks, because in 10 years, that might be the person who's now casting at Ubisoft. And they're gonna be like, you know who I love? That June guy. He was in this really small indie game and it was like $4 a line and he was so lovely, and now we have this amazing main character who he's perfect for. I'm gonna make sure he gets that audition. I'm gonna check his website and see who his agent is. And then I'm gonna send this off to Vanessa and make sure he reads on this. That's not to say folks don't get cast through personal relationships, because that is true, but in terms of cold calling people you don't know, it's hard for them to recommend you for something if they don't know your work and if you don't have work that they can look at, versus being able to say, here's me, here's what I do, and it's not a risky bet for you to take a chance on me. So that's where you should spend your energy sending out information, because those are the folks who are craving it, because casting wants you to solve their problem. They want you to be the right voice for their project. They want to be like, oh, thank goodness, I am done. I have found the dream person. This is the greatest thing that's ever
It's a wisdom
happened.
Right there. Exactly.
I stopped halfway through a sentence because I was like, oh, I should see where you are. I'm just talking and wildly gesturing with my hands like I'm Stan from Monkey Island. For anyone who's played that, that's basically how I talk.
It's absolutely pertinent and very much related, and a very practical advice, I think. And just to curb the behavior of, I can just send an email. It's just an email. It's not going to bother them. No.
And look, if you meet somebody, if you do a workshop, if you're introduced by a friend, and that person says, hey, send me your information, that's totally different. Please do that. But if you if you figure out someone's email address and you get up in their inbox and they're like, who are you? Why are you here? I didn't invite you here. Then that's not a good first impression. Versus you know, if you are an up-and-coming voice actor, let's say there's a company you really want to work at, and you're great, right? You have work that you can point to and say, this is what I do, and I do it at quality. I'm gonna do it at the quality that this company demands. Then you can ask your friend and say, hey, I know you just did a bunch of games with, I'm just gonna make Schmoobisoft, right? This brand new company. I would love to work on those franchises. The next time you get an audition for that, if you get it directly, the hard part is if it mostly comes through your agent, you can't really deal with that. But, you know, next time you work on that, could you introduce me? Would you mind connecting me with that casting person so I can introduce myself so they can look for me when they do auditions? Then your friend might say yes, but if you just go, hello, I found you on LinkedIn and I would like to audition, they're gonna be like, I don't know you and I have 4 minutes before my session, go. You don't want that to be your impression. You want it to be like somebody vouching for you. To the point where like I have developers I have relationships with from working at them and I still never sent them my stuff because I didn't want to be annoying. Until I was asked and they were like, hey, Jen, I want your reel, send it to me. Then I'm like, great, here you go.
Yeah, and first impressions do mean something, does it not?
Yeah, I will remember every person who sent me a... Look, if someone sends me a nice email, I'll be like, hey, that's not my jam, but, you know, good luck, kid. If somebody sends like a really rude email, then I will remember that till the grave. So don't do that. Don't test me. Versus, you know, if someone's like, hey, I don't know how this works. Do you mind pointing me in the right direction? I'm gonna be like, good for you. Here's a website. Good luck. I'm sure I'll see you in my inbox in 2 years from this audition that you'll get because you're great. That's very negative. This is turned very negative. So I'm gonna turn this around.
Missteps are something to be wary of, and I see it as one.
I don't actually hold a grudge, except I've gotten like 2 rude emails in my time, and I will remember those forever.
It's about helping. It's about bringing awareness to what it's really like.
I mean, my favorite thing is to recommend people for projects and to introduce people to each other and to create, you know, positive spaces. Like, that is what I live for. And so I honestly get really sad when people are like, what if I just skipped 90 steps and went and just got real presumptuous? Because I don't want people to have a bad time. I want people to succeed. I spent a long time trying to figure out how VO works, and if I can help someone shortcut that time, I want to do it. But you have to just be nice and be respectful of people's time. And patient if they tell you they can't help you. They're not being a crumbhead. Like, they just can't. I was trying to think of something that wasn't a bad word. We all have a million things happening. But let's talk about positive stuff for a second. You know, in the terms of, you know, remembering things. Casting wants you to succeed, and every time you send an audition out into the world, you're making fans. You're building lists of people who want to work with you, who want to cast you. I know this because I do cast sometimes, and there are people who I send to every time, and it hasn't quite happened yet, and I cannot wait until I get to email them and say, you booked it, you know? And so rejection, it's not rejection, it's selection, as people say. You know, there can be 5 amazing people for one job. Only one person's gonna get that job because we can't have 5 people record the same character. But you never know when you're building a fan in casting. And that audition you sent now for this little project, in a year from now, someone might go, you know who sent a really good audition for that? This person. Let me go look them up and let's see if we can use them for something on this game. And so you are building these relationships and you might not realize it because the returns aren't immediate. There's a project I just got booked on that I worked on the production side 3 years ago. And when the audition came around, I was like, I know exactly what this is. I know all the context, so I had a little bit of an edge on that. But there was a part that originally I remember seeing, and I was like, man, I'm super right for that. I hope I'll get to read on it. And then it hit my inbox. And honestly, I don't even know if like the developer will have any idea who I am at that point. Hopefully, they'll be like, yeah, we had liked you and we were hoping we would get to use you and we found a spot, right? Like, that's how it all works. So as you're meeting those indie people through Twitter, as you're making friends with fellow voice actors, as you're organically building those relationships and not forcing them, that's where your auditions are going to come from. That's going to be your friend recommending you. And it's like, right before this stream, I got an audition that's really great for Corey. And I emailed that person. I said, hey, my friend Corey sounds exactly like what you're asking for. Here's his info. If you think he might be a fit, why don't you go send it to him? You know, or I'll forward it with your permission, because this is a person that I think would trust my opinion. And I know that Corey could do that job with his eyes closed. And so to be positive, about the VO thing, like, you're building a community of people who support you, casting people, other actors, teachers, directors. And they really are looking for opportunities to work with you, like, constantly, even if it doesn't feel that way. Because I can't tell you how many times I've been in a workshop with a casting person or a director, and they've said to someone else in the class, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to finally meet you. You are always in my select pile. You are always in the top of my listens, and it just hasn't happened yet. I can't wait to book you." And you don't hear that as an actor because you send out 20 of these things a week into outer space and nothing happens. It's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to get down on yourself with those kinds of things, and you're like, I don't have these relationships. But you don't realize that you might have a fan that you just don't know is a fan of you. And someday that is going to pay off. It just might not be on that immediate audition. And it's a long game kind of thing. It's like the stock market, right? You don't go put something in the stock market and then go, well, that went down $2 and take it out. Like, don't do that. It's the same thing with VO. It's like, oh, well, I finally got that audition for Ubisoft and I didn't book that game. I guess I better hang it up. No, you have no idea. You have no idea what it's going to lend to. And I think that's true for a lot of industries. But, especially voiceover, where it's a small enough community that when you do good work and you're a good person, you will be remembered. You will be remembered for all the right reasons. Like, being lovely and doing good work is really what everybody wants in a session with them. So just being awesome and believing in yourself and faking it till you make it in that regard is so crucial, because it's very easy to feel defeated, especially when you're sending out 1 million auditions and they might not be hitting.
Well, I think it's being exactly who you are. And if you are a good person and a good actor is able to carry these things out, things will happen.
Honestly, be who you are. Because if you're a jerk, I want to know right now. Exactly, I don't want to be surprised later.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Teach me now so I can ignore you and just continue to emotionally hug all the great people.
Jen, over the years, you have enjoyed many lovely roles and various productions. Mm-hmm. Everything from Genshin Impact to Sword Art Online to Scarlet Nexus to all the other things I can mention for hours on end. What are some memorable roles that brought some level of happiness inside of a person?
All of them. No, I always say my favorite role is the one I'm working on at the moment, because it's so much fun to live in all these great characters. Obviously, look, Ganyu is amazing, and I adore her. Some of my favorite stuff is stuff people don't even know what it is. I got to voice these really cool videos for Disney that were on their Instagram and Facebook. Was it last year, 2 years ago? What is time? It was mostly before lockdown and then a little bit after. Called Meet the Villains. And they were all 1 minute long intros about different villain characters, and then there was a sequel that was movies, so it was this is Ursula, and we're going to talk about Ursula, and then we talked about Ratigan, and it was so cool because they made these custom animations and showed clips from the different movies, and it was just these little 1 minute shorts that I got to narrate, and it was so much fun, and they were really funny. And what's memorable about it, I won't say what the project was, but I had a session for a project, and it was probably the worst session I ever had in my life. I was a little miscast in that they changed what the character was by the time I showed up. I was really good for the thing that they auditioned. I was horrible, to use everyone's favorite word from earlier, for the character it became. I wasn't the right choice. But I didn't know that until about 30 minutes in. And so we're in this session and it's bad. And they're unhappy, I'm unhappy. And I at some point was it's okay if you guys want to replace me. I can't do vocally what is in your head. Oh, whoops. I am very dead.
Oh no!
I got one-shotted by that.
Oh, no.
Ganyu needed the nap. I was like, blah blah blah, death.
Is she okay? Oh no!
I think it was my bed.
But no. The project it was hard because you want to do a good job and you could feel yourself doing a terrible job, and it was just okay. It was not my finest hour, and I definitely got out of the session, came home, and just kind of flopped down and cried. It was that was the worst experience I've had. It was embarrassing because you want to do great, right? And the next day I went and I recorded my first session for the Disney VO, and they had an animatic, which for folks who aren't making animations or games is basically a moving storyboard for the video. And they said, hey, we cut an animatic to your audition, do you want to see it? And I watched it, and there was my audition, all animated with Disney characters. And they said there's this one line in the audition, you hit the joke and nobody else hit it that way, and it was so funny, and we knew you were the right person for this job off that one sentence. And I left that job and I cried in a different way because I was like, okay, redeemed, right? You know, you may not be right for everything, and you're gonna end up in gigs that you're like, this is gonna be a long 2 hours and we're just gonna work through this together. But then, you know, I was like, this is it. It's over. You know, I'm never going to work in this town again. It's going to get around that I'm terrible. And then they were like, we are so glad we found you for this project because your sense of humor matches our writers. And I did like 9 videos, I think, for them. And it was a great time. And it happened at a time that I was really full of self-doubt, and I was really not sure if, you know, it's easy in a creative career to get very down on yourself if you haven't been working in a bit or you haven't been doing what feels like good work. And it was a nice reminder that, you know, just because you have a bad day, you send a bad audition, you do a project that you don't feel great about, doesn't mean you're not great. It doesn't mean you're not talented. It just means maybe that wasn't actually the right thing for you, but oops, you ended up there. And it's okay, and you'll move along. And the next time, it'll be something you're right for. You know, there'll be a character that fits you so well that people will be like, I don't know who else would have done that job. Every gig isn't going to be that way, and that's okay. They don't have to be, and learning that they don't have to be was such an eye-opener for me. So I put some lesson in that story, but that gig was so cool and so fun. And of course, Ganyu. And I have a real soft spot for the first anime I ever worked on. It's called Sirius the Jaeger, and it's this vampire thing on Netflix. And Jackie Loster, who voices Xiangling, is my twin vampire sister. And there's a lot of Genshin English voice actors in that cast. And it was directed by Tepe. It was so much fun just to get to do something really like wild like that. I will always love that. That will always be one of my favorite projects. But the Christian Lamont who directed it, we were in some acting classes together, and I walked into the room and I was terrified because it was my first session, and this person that I really like, who I barely knew, but I was like, oh, you're fun, I like you, and you're nice. Immediately I felt comfortable and like I was set up to succeed. That was something I needed because that wasn't too long after the other thing at that time. And it was really fun, and I got to be funny, I think, for the first time at a project, and that was cool. So there, that's my really long answer to 9 questions you didn't ask and the one you did.
Oh, I think it's perfectly fine. I appreciate all
that's
of them.
how I do. I answer 7 questions and not the one you actually wanted.
Okay, here, I have an easy question for you.
Yes.
Do voice actors need representation to succeed?
No.
Well, there you go. Next.
They don't. No. There are certain kinds of auditions for certain companies that they're only going to be sent to agents, right? Even the agent I have now versus the previous agent I have access to things I never auditioned for before at that agency. You will have greater access with an agent, but there is so much out there for people that don't have representation. The majority of the anime I've worked on has been auditions I've gotten directly from studios I built relationships with, whether it was through recommendations or, meeting the person, casting, and repeatedly reminding them that I'm a person and sending them proof that I'm growing and learning. Word of mouth, people that you worked with, people that you were in classes with, they got brought into a project and they'll say, you know who would be really good on this project? This person. You never know where it's going to come from. Now, I have a really cool project that comes out later this year that I got through my agent, and I booked that, and there were some things I booked this year or last year. I was like, it's technically a new year now. It's 2022 somehow. I just don't have access to that stuff on my own, mostly, and people are like, well, why? Why don't they give everyone a chance? It's time. If I put a casting call out, on the internet and anybody can send it, there is no barrier to entry. And now that does mean great people without representation might not get heard, but it also means that I don't have to listen to 200 auditions that are people who aren't ready for that gig. With an agency, there's a little more of a guarantee that the person they're sending is probably equipped to do that work. Independent stuff, it's more of a, you just hope and trust, if they don't have a body of work yet. And so if it's like a fast turnaround animated show where they've got a week to deal with something, and you need to be available Thursday and brilliant, and there's no time to fix it if you're not, then they're probably not going to take a chance on somebody that isn't at least represented. That said, the majority of the games and anime that you guys know me for, I booked without an agent. I booked them on my own. So it is very, very viable to start a voiceover career without representation. You will just have more options with it. So it is not an end-all be-all to have an agent.
And as someone who built her own entrepreneurship business that you're running right now as you and as Jen Losi, and who have processed this information and discovered the actor within, perhaps.
I mean, I'm working on it. We all are, right?
It is, we all are, indeed. I'm curious because I'm going to skip that question and go straight.
That's okay. I'm not looking at the sheet, so I have no idea if you're going in order.
Good. You voiced Naomi Randall in Scarlet Nexus.
Yes.
How much are you like her? Or how much is she like you?
Okay, if y'all played Scarlet Nexus or you watched the anime, please no spoilers. What I love about Naomi is she cares with like all of her heart, and there's a theme with all my nice girl characters. Her sister is the most important thing in the world to her, and she will do whatever she can to do that. And she's so kind and generous and thoughtful. She's just a really supportive friend, and I admire that about her. I like to think that's something we have in common, is that, you know, she is very much like, there's no question that she's on your side, right? Like, there's no question that if you're in her life, she cares about you. I love that about her. I don't have telekinesis, tragically. She's able to sort of like see a moment in time, like right before it happens. I'm not a precog, rather, not telekinesis, sorry. Thinking about the game. There's a lot of great values in how she sees friendships, and I admire that about her. She's so cute.
I think that's agreed. But personally, from my perspective and my history, even as an adult, I've absolutely fell in love with Sword Art Online. And when I learned that you voiced Rinko, oh my gosh, I instantaneously became a fan, and this was way before Genshin. And Rinko, as this amazingly strong and level-headed and logical person that she is. I'm curious as to find the similarities between you and Rinko in a very similar fashion as the previous question. But how do you take that similarities that you can see between your own self-awareness and the characters that you're presented with, and how do you meld those similarities together into manifesting into a performance that's believable and bookable, perhaps?
I love that question. And actually, since you said bookable, I want to add to what I said before, with oftentimes you'll audition for a role and get cast in another role. I didn't audition for Naomi, I auditioned for some other characters in the game. But I was gifted Naomi. She's the right character for me. She's the exact right person in that game that I should voice, right? I'm not right for the other girls I read for. I'm right for Naomi. But Rinko was the first anime character that I directly auditioned for and booked. And when I knew SAO a bit, but because when it came out, I was working on like a multiplayer game, and I was like, I cannot go home and watch a show about a game. Especially like I was like I can't handle it. It's too much for me. I started watching it, I think, when Gun Gale came out, because I had some friends in that. I, was aware of the show and of sort of the general story of it. But when I got the audition for Rinko, I was like, oh, I understand her. Like I just, there's something about her I understand. I don't know why, but I feel like I get it. What I love about her and where we're similar, she's a woman in STEM. she is a woman in a traditionally male-dominated field. But what I love about Rinko is there's never any gender questions about her. There's no like, oh, she's the girl scientist. Like she is very capable. She is top-tier talent, and is allowed to be that in this world. She's allowed to be an expert. Where, when you're looking at characters that are similar to you in some ways, it's important to look at the ways they're different too, because the places where we're similar, maybe thought process, maybe dealing with overbearing guys that you're like, cool, but to actually take me seriously, because she certainly has that with Kikuoka, that's something I can relate to, and there's a lot of conversations we'd have. Alex Von David, the genius director and adapter for the show, we would talk about some of the game dev specifics. He'd be like, is like, what's a load test versus a stress test? And occasionally he'd ask me a question, then like regret asking me the question because I'd just talk about it for a long time, as y'all notice. But we would talk about some of the logistics of certain things. And it was interesting in that perspective, because I could provide that little bit of like inside sort of thought of a particular aspect of it. But there are plenty of places where Rinko and I are different. I like to think I have better taste in men than Rinko. I had like a run of anime women who were betrothed to murderers for a while, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. All of my anime love interests are very suspect and killy. But when you're in a scene and that character is different than you, they're not going to react the same way you do. And you have to think about those differences, if like Jen, the viewer of the show, is like, girl, like, he's a bad dude, stop pining for him. But as Rinko, you're like, this is the person that she had the most meaningful adult relationship with, in her life, and she never knew the other side of them, and she didn't really sort of experience it during their life, and she hasn't been able to emotionally process that, and she's locked herself away from anything having to do with that for years, and she's cloistered herself. She moved to, in the novel, it's Pasadena. Like, she probably works for JPL. Like, she lives in Pasadena in California, and she's put a whole ocean between her and her past. I won't give any spoilers for the Helicization arcs, but she's confronted emotionally with stuff that, the way she would react is very different than maybe how I would react. But I need to play her truth, not mine, and something, this is something I think about a lot in games, like fighting games. Like, how strong is this character compared to me? How easy is this compared to me? If they're climbing, is it effortless for them? Is it difficult for them? What is their physical fitness? Because if I were trying to do anything Ganyu just did, I'd be dead on the floor. I would have passed out 4 glides ago versus, this is easy for her, right? And so whenever you're in a character that doesn't fit you in those ways, I have to sort of separate for a second from just the heart of it. How do they experience it? How would they deal with it differently than me? And how do I honor that with every choice I make throughout the whole show? It's a lot to think about when the lines are coming at you in Japanese and it's beep, 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 go. But,
But that level of depth in detail and characterization and connectedness to your character is precisely what gives convincing and believable and effective performances, I believe. And there's no shortage of that coming from your end. And
oh, bless you.
I mean it. That everybody here can, I think, definitely agree. Those are the fans of SAO and Scarlet Nexus as well as Genshin Impact. You do phenomenal work, which is why you're working.
Thank you.
No, really, it's not. It's amazing.
And obviously every character is not necessarily going to have that level of nuance. She's has a very rich backstory and previous life that we sort of get to explore. But when you can bring that, you do. But I find that folks always say you book the roles you're right for, and I find that the characters that I've found that felt successful to me, that feel like truthful, good performances, Ganyu, Naomi, Rinko, I'm able to connect to them in some way, even if it's not like, a particular life experience. I don't have to be, someone who understands like radio engineering to know what it's like to be a woman who had to sort of assert herself quickly in a field dominated by men, right? I don't have to have that experience. Anybody else can play that, but there were things about her personal sort of way she deals with stuff that I was able to connect to. And I think any part that I've played that I think is one of the better ones is something where I just sort of locked in really early onto who that person was. And you don't always have the luxury of time and research. Sometimes you don't know what the game is until you show up. I've worked on 2 games, I still don't know what they are, and I recorded them last year. Like, they'll come out someday and I'll know then. But, sometimes you have the luxury or, the magic of Ganyu, obviously, is this game is ongoing. So anytime I get to come back and record her, I'm just building on what we've already done. And with Scarlet Nexus, we got to come do the anime after doing the whole game. So now I know her whole story, I know her whole journey, and I can tell that a second time. And that is such a gift as an actor. To say, okay, now I know everything about her. Now I get to tell her story even deeper because I'm giving them a second chance to have all this information that I didn't have day one, where I walked and they said, hello, you're voicing Naomi. She is the main character's sister. And here's her first line. It was slightly more than that, but it's not that much more than that with games. So you don't always know what's happening until it's on your screen or on the piece of paper in front of you.
Here, why don't you come over to the sword that I'm standing by? And I noticed that both of us here are cryo users. And
should we maybe tag out for this particular fight?
We're pointless against the wolf, and the only pyro character on stage, on field, is Rin. So
I got this. Don't worry. You guys, you keep talking while the wolf keeps chasing me. It's cool.
We're gonna just have this friendly conversation about Ganyu. So we'll let Rin flex. Just flex. You'll take care of the wolf, won't you?
Go up over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of the way. I was gonna say, do you want me to switch to you? And you're like, no, man, I got this.
I got it.
How has this one role of Ganyu changed life for you personally and professionally, Jen?
Sure. I'll answer professionally first. I think that's easier. And I'm going to say, in terms of like, oh my gosh, you're Ganyu, we're gonna just throw 3,000 things at you. No, that's not a thing. But where it has obviously helped professionally is getting to spend this much time with the character. You know, she's the character I've voiced the longest, and every time you're at the microphone, you're learning and you're growing as an actor. And so getting to live in her, and as we learn more about her, as we get her story, and we had her story quest, when she returns for events, you get to sort of try more and play more. And I think the experience of, you know, voicing someone long term and keeping that fresh and interesting is nice, you know, for me, because hopefully sometime I will book, you know, more characters that live for years and years. And I'm still getting hit. That's hilarious. I'm backing up. So I mean, that was exciting, and obviously, you know, any chance you have to work makes you a better actor. In terms of personally, though, I mean, it's massive because, and it's partially also tied to Twitch and streaming, because, you know, if I wasn't in the game, I don't imagine that I would have spent so much time, you know, watching streams or even streaming this game myself. And I'm just watching this fight, and it's absolutely crazy. All these numbers. So I don't think that's something that I would have done if I weren't voicing Ganyu, but because I stream, because I watch streams, I've made friends all over the world. Some of them are in this chat, you know? Like, we raided Grace on Halloween, and I adore her and her community, and, you know, I have friends in Japan, I have friends in the Philippines, I have friends in Europe, I have friends in all over the country and all over the world that I've, you know, developed friendships with over the last couple years. And I never, you know, I haven't really experienced that from something that's a game I've worked on, you know, even as a developer. You make a game and it's out, and that's kind of it. It's not interactive in that way. Going to streams in the beginning, like I would watch my friend Sayu playing the closed beta, because at that point I already was like, I'm in this game and I want to see what it's like. And becoming part of that community and slowly becoming part of the Genshin Impact community on Twitch has really sort of changed everything, and then, you know, encouraged me to stream, which is something I wanted to do a long time ago and I just never did, because I was like, well, who's going to watch my stuff? So at least then I was like, well, at least I have an excuse, right? Maybe they'll come and care because Ganyu. I was like, I should loot this. I need this fight. What am I doing? Thank you for doing all of the work, Ren.
I'd also like to pose the same challenge to Jen as well. Can you defeat this the Electro here for us while we talk to you? It'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I was like, cryo things, not as much. But what did I try to do? It was so funny. I don't remember. I think I brought the Geo boys. It was either this one or one of them. It was like the worst fight I've ever had. It was like 25 minutes. I was like, I can't finish this fight. I've never had this problem with hypostasis. But yeah, it's been, you know, and having like a stream community that's just so full of kind and wonderful people, and you know, how they pay that forward and support each other and go to each other's streams, and people have had fundraisers or difficult times, and watching, you know, having a space where people can connect with each other has been really incredible. Ganyu sort of was the inroad to that opportunity, in that I don't know that I would have done it without her, if that makes sense.
Indeed.
Like, maybe eventually some other game, but certainly not anytime soon.
To me, it sounds like gratitude.
Oh, and also I've spent a lot of more money on merch than anything else in my life, so it's also affected me in that way. I'm wearing a Ganyu shirt right now. I can touch like 7 other Genshin things from where I'm standing. I do have a Lego Rinko that was made for me by a really awesome person. But yeah, there's just Ganyu stuff everywhere. And like, I have like a plush hilly churl that's out in the living room. It's taken over.
Big changes
So.
as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, I need to get back in touch with Brandy Sims, who's a voice actor that I know, who is supposed to be working on this really cute custom Baron Bunny for me.
I cannot
like made to scale.
to see it.
Custom sewn. And this
Sorry,
whole thing.
I can do
What?
nothing helpful at cryo.
I was gonna get 2 and give 1 to Rin, and then this whole thing. I need to get in touch with her one more time.
I don't know how to help on cryohypostasis.
I mean, we have Rin, so me neither. I'm a cryo character as well, so I don't know what to do with this one.
I can't even like hit the
I just saw
fruit.
Yoimiya. What are you talking about?
It's Diona, Rin. What are you talking about? It's a couple
Alright,
of
I got
I
this.
can't even
I got
hit the
this.
fruit.
Don't worry, I got this.
I'll just like stand in the back.
I'm the bodyguard here. You keep doing the interview.
Now, obviously, like the way these things are done is in studio in live directed sessions, right? There's always a director of some kind. For the voice actors who might be watching this, who have never been in a live directed session before, what is that experience like, do you think?
It's awesome because, I think the hardest part for a lot of people with auditions is it's just you in a vacuum, right? And you sort of learn over time to make good choices and train yourself to make decisions and make it vibrant. If you are in a directed session, then you have somebody helping you with that process. And now it's a collaboration. You have an engineer and a director and maybe even folks from the client. Maybe it's someone from a localization team, maybe it's a designer, maybe it's a narrative person. Now you have a squad of people that you can bounce your ideas off, right? And so you're not doing things in a vacuum. I helped a little. Very small amount. I was like, go, physical damage. So already, like, it can be very nerve-wracking. People are like, I'm so scared there's gonna be other people, they're gonna be judging me. No, they're not, because they're there to, I got in my head for that bad session. They're there to make everything succeed. They're all there to help tell the story. You're a team now. So now you have a team. And the way it will tend to work, every project is different. But I will say the majority of sessions, you will get a script, usually there for the first time. Oh, finally, something I can contribute to. I was like, I know where we are. So you'll have the script, it'll be up on a monitor, usually. Or if it's at home now, it's being shared over Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts or a shared thing, or maybe you'll get an Excel file if it's a project that they're comfortable sharing it. And you've got a director, whether it's in person or now, through, again, Skype, whatever. And it'll be like, okay, so like let's say it's the Oceanid, right? Let's say it's a voice session for this. And the director might say, okay, so we're working on this game, Genshin Impact. It's this really beautiful open world RPG, and you are one of the world bosses. You are made of water, so you're gonna summon a whole bunch of water characters, and you're a pretty scary fight, but you're a really interesting character. You're sort of very naturey, but you are a bad guy. So let's see, when the players come into the space, you're going to say, and then talking and not looking. So like this line, right? Like, okay, we're gonna do what's called an A and a B. So the actor will then say, that line, and then they'll do it a second way. And the director will say, oh, that's great. Let's take the B. Okay, so they kept the second one. They're like, engineers, is that clean? Is it beautiful? Great, moving on. Okay, so then she's gonna summon 3 really like evil birds that if you're a low-level player, you're gonna hate forever. And she'll say this, and they'll give you the context you need, and you'll go through it all, and you'll go through all her lines. And now I don't know if this is true for Oceanid, so this is now just me making up any general session. I'll say, okay, great, we also want you to voice this other character, and they're an NPC in town, and they can't find their kid, and their kid went off to do the other area, and they've got this little scene. And you just go down the spreadsheet until you're done. And some projects, that's it. It's like 2 hours and you're out. Some projects, it could be, again, I'm looking at chat and I'm not looking at water at Oceanid.
True streamer. That's how you know.
There's gonna be a power montage of all the times that I've like gotten hit by a crane perfectly because I'm not paying attention to what's going on. But yeah, so usually it'll just be you'll be working through the script line by line. And a director will give you context, or they might say, oh, okay, actually, there's this beautiful animation that plays during this. It's about 6 seconds long, so let's just go for that take again, and can we just stretch that out a little bit? You're very powerful. You have a lot of majesty, so take your time with it. And then the actor will do it again. They'll be like, oh, that was beautiful. Great, moving on. And it'll just be that, for 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, however long. For the future times when things go back to in-person and it's not just recording remotely, there'll be a time where all of a sudden the client will get quiet and you'll see all this talking in the booth and you'll get really self-conscious. You're like, are they firing me? What's happening? And it really just, they're ordering lunch usually, or they're like, oh, we just found this problem in the script where we need to make this change. Like, today I'm directing a project right now, and in a session today, I noticed, I was like, oh, these two incidental characters are actually the same character. They're named two different ways in the script, so let's just make sure we get that, unified. They're doing something like that. They're not freaking out about you. And it's so easy, I think, for people to worry in a session that there's like some grand conspiracy happening. And like, look, people do get replaced on project. It's not because you're not amazing. They might get an actor in and go, you know what? This actor's really incredible, but this character needs to sound a lot older.
Yep.
Or, you know what? Their voice sounds way too much like the main character. Let's see if we can get them to make it lower, and if they can't, we're gonna have to cast somebody else. Those things do happen.
It does happen.
It's not real until the thing ships and you see your name in the credits.
So true.
And that's like the truth of it, but I don't know if I described the session well enough, but like,
for 2 hours I played this character, and then when it came out, it wasn't me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Oh no, it happens all the time. I agree.
It does happen all the time.
For whatever reason, and I'm going, okay, I guess that was, I got paid for my session. That's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
I was watching a dub where I voiced a few characters, and one of them, I was scrubbing through, because I'm always curious to like hear friends and stuff, and I saw one of the characters that I voiced, and then it wasn't me. And I was like, oh, that's not me anymore. But I loved the person. I was like, oh, that's way better. That's such a better fit. Same. Or, like, I voiced a live action dub, and I had a one-off character who had 2 lines, and then she came back in another season, and my voice that we chose for her when she was a background incidental was so horrifically wrong, but we had to go with it, because that's what was in season 1. And I was like, wow, she's definitely not 20, and she sounds really young and cheery, and she's like this really low-voiced woman in the original, and I was like, well, it is what it is. You go with it. You never know. And same with Genshin. When I voiced Glory, she had 1 sentence, and she's come back like 3 times, and I'm like, yay, Glory!
Did you people know that Jen is also the voice of Glory, whom I love?
Yeah, if you see Godwin, I'm waiting. Please send him to my bench. He's been gone a really long... More like Godwin, am I right?
Dandelion
am I right?
What the heck?
Mm-hmm. That's the only Mondstadt achievement I don't have.
Here, come to Ashtaha. Ashtaha.
Oh,
what
that's
is
where
the
you are.
Absolute pronunciation? I've been saying Ashtaha this whole time.
I think Ashtaha?
Is it Ashtaha?
He'll probably introduce himself when we can listen.
I'm sure. It's Pyro and then Electro. It should be fine. Okay. What could possibly go wrong?
I had hit navigate before on the big old cube, and so it kept showing me that you were there. I'm like, there's nobody here. I'm like, oh, navigate. I know how to play this game. I've been playing this since the beginning. Isn't it clear?
For those folks who are shaking, perhaps trembling about their very first live directed session, I think it's like a I equate it to a bit of a rite of passage to an extent. What are some advice you can give to ease their minds about going into a live directed session?
Number 1, remember that you're there for a reason. You're there because they like your work, and they want you to do well, and they want you to play that part. So get over it. You're allowed to be nervous, but you, like, the second it starts, turn that stuff off. Leave it at the door as best you can. It gets easier each time. But remember, they're there, they're on your side, they want you to succeed, because also it makes them look good if you're good, right? You can ask questions if you need to know something, that's okay. I mean, look, if you have a 2-line NPC, don't be like, what's my whole family backstory? Like, I mean, let's say you're like, okay, is this Ashtaha? How do we pronounce that? Or, hey, this character I'm talking to, do I like them? Like, it's okay to do things like that. Everyone has a first session, and I think, honestly, it's okay to be like, hey, this is my fire. I am
dying as well. This is not.
If only someone had shields.
Oh no! I failed you. I have failed you. I am not worthy.
It's okay.
No, it's not. I can hear
my
the
contract goes unfulfilled. I'm so used to bringing Diona usually to these fights when I do them, because I usually do commissions with Corey, and I hit E to shield myself and was like, nope, I'm Ganyu. There's no shielding. Just gonna lay down. It's gonna be fine, he says. Pyro and electro, he says. It's really fun to watch from back here and see all the particle effects. But yeah, let me think. Now that I don't have to like control anything. Advice. Get the information you need to. Ask the questions. If you need if it's remote and you need them to make the script bigger, ask to make it bigger. I do that all the time. I'm like, hey, and I'll joke about it, like, hey, I've got like ancient eyeballs. Can you make that like 2 points bigger? That'd be cool. Thank you. Ask for what you need. Number 1. Number 2, hydrate. Drink water after every line. Don't mess your voice up because then you can't work. And also don't faint. That's number 3. If you're doing a lot of efforts and exertions, if you're screaming, if you're crying, if you're running, if you're doing like baby noises, if you start getting dizzy, be like, hello, I'm getting dizzy. You need to advocate for yourself. So that's really sort of the whole theme, is get the information you need, ask the questions you need to ask. I had a session once where we were going so fast, we would do a line, we do A, B, next line, next line, next line, next line. On that one, I was engineering myself at home, and there would be like a yelling line and then a quiet line, and so I'm moving all the knobs, and I'm like, my voice is starting to get really scratchy. And the director goes, you sound really raspy. And I was like, I don't think I've had water this whole hour. Can we take a moment? And I wasn't rude about it, but I was like, hey, I'm just gonna need a minute. Let me just drink some water for a minute. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, hey, I need a moment. Or, hey, usually they'll try to make vocally stressful stuff at the end of the session, but if it's early and you see something vocally stressful, say, hey, can we come back to this later when my voice is a little more comfortable? It's okay to ask for the things you need. Now don't be like, I require caviar and 7 minutes in rest in between each line. But, I've worked on things that are vocally stressful and saying like, hey, can I just do 1 take and you tell me if that's what you want before I do a second one? And do whatever you need to do to take care of you. Also, Snowish, hi.
Hi, Snow. Thanks for hosting. Good to see you. Hello. And looks like Noxella redeemed a dad joke. And I'm going to let our guest of honor, Jen Losi, take a crack at it.
All right. Here is your special dad joke. They just released a new air freshener that works via mind control. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
Oh, the psychic damage I got from that. Oh, oh man.
It makes sense. But look, you're also a very successful streamer on top of a voice actor. Just like Rin, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll hear Rin's performance in the voice acting capacity one day, won't we? Indeed.
Maybe one day.
Don't give me that. Yes, you.
I'd love to, honestly. It does sound very interesting.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, listening to the conversation so far has been actually very helpful in all the regards. So
good, because I'm just kind of nervously babbling.
Look, twitch.tv/Jen Losi. It shouldn't be any surprise to anybody here. But Jen, if we were to all go over to your stream to see what you do, what kind of content can we find on your stream? What do you do?
Right now nothing, because I barely exist for the next 3 weeks, and so I'm very sorry. I see some folks here where I'm like, I'm sorry I haven't been streaming. I often play Genshin, but by that I mean I talk and have the Genshin menu open. I do try to do Spiral Abyss. Once a week, Corey, who voices Goro and the Abyss Lector and Giraffe and others, and I do a theory crafting stream. So either we will just take questions from everybody, or we'll make a featured topic like a character that's just come out, and we'll talk about their mechanics, how they work, how you can build them, what characters they go well with, anything and everything you'd want to know about the new characters, or other topics. We've done ones about defense, we've done ones about in-game food, so we do that. I also try to play some other games. I love playing games that aren't fully voiced so that I and my friends can voice things. So games like Boyfriend Dungeon, which is awesome. They call it a shack and slash. It's a part dating sim, part dungeon crawler. It's fantastic. Try to keep it cozy and supportive and positive. Only good vibes, no leaks, no spoilers, no bad attitudes. And luckily, there's some really incredible people that come hang out with us. So I think the most important thing about my stream is the folks that you're going to be hanging out with in the chat, because they're pretty much the coolest people I know. That's really the selling point, is all the Coco Goats who come and hang out, provide extra punnery and loveliness. That's the best part.
I would double, triple, quadruple back up that statement. You're the community that you've built. is phenomenal. And a bunch of folks here,
Hopefully
absolutely.
loves to be there in 2 weeks.
Drop
when
those
I
cocoa
exist
motes.
again.
Let's see them. Absolutely. If you belong in that community, please represent that. The community that you've cultivated and developed and grown to this degree is nothing short of a phenomenal effort
Yeah, hi
to
everybody.
have this wonderful space to exist. My gosh,
Yeah.
it's lovely. Lovely.
And that's enough, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This one's actually a question for Rin and as well as
Yes!
Jen too, right?
Oh, okay, fine.
If you have to be. Yeah, you can
Drinking
answer
water.
the question
Drinking
first.
water.
There we go. Yay. What does it take as a streamer, and what is the motivation and the reason, the fuel, if you will, that get you to turn on OBS and hit stream every day, or as frequently as infrequently as you do? For the long term, Jen has been streaming for 1 year. She recently celebrated her year anniversary, and Rin's been streaming for a much longer, I'm certain. What is the thing that motivates and drives a streamer to keep going, if you will? Rin, please.
When I first started streaming, it was just kind of looking for another thing to do, because I was primarily a YouTuber for the longest time, right? But as a YouTuber, I started building a community, so I wanted to try and connect with them more. And I think to this day now, it's been almost 5 years live streaming.
Wow.
It's really just logging in and hanging out with everyone online and just having a conversation. Especially now with being stuck at home a lot more and not going out, it's just a nice way to just socialize for me.
I think it's very much that for me, you know, and you know, in terms of like finding the motivation, I mean, there's some days that I just like cannot even, as they say, and you know, I'll make the call and I'll go, okay, well, why don't I want to stream tonight? And if the answer is, well, I have a session in the morning and my voice is a little bit raggedy, so I need to protect it, then I will cancel my stream, you know, because that's important. Vocal health. If it's I'm really exhausted and I didn't sleep enough and I need an extra 2 hours of sleep. But, you know, if it's just I'm grumpy, then I will stream, because usually I'm in a pretty great mood by 30 minutes in. Because, you know, it is fun to hear what everyone else is up to and to get to share the experience of these games. Like, it's when I was a kid, my brother and I would play games together, but often, you know, certain games he would play and I would watch. And because there's certain kinds of games I'm not good at or don't interest me, but I find them fun to watch and I enjoy like the story. And so to me, it feels a lot like that. You know, you're gathering around and you're playing something together and you're experiencing that game together, and that sense of community and a shared thing, especially now, like Rin said, you know, I don't remember the last time I was outside past the dumpster and like I don't see the sun anymore. I'm very much a hermit. I'm working really long hours in the dark. You know, I don't have that social experience. I don't go into studios and see people anymore, any of that. And so it's really great to be able to just sort of check in on the world and hang out with folks that way. So I think that is really, for me, the reason I keep doing it more than anything else. There's these great folks out there who show up, and I want to be there for them, and I want to show up with them.
Best answer ever. Yes,
and
indeed.
that will continue in the beginning of February when I don't work till 9:30 p.m. This is my one afternoon off until February 5th.
To be busy, to live
Here we
life,
are.
to live the life of happiness and creativity as whatever hat that you're wearing throughout the next however many weeks that's come to.
I mean, why
I'm so
choose
happy
one?
for you.
Why choose one hat?
Completely agree. Completely. Unless it's Mona's hat, which is different, I guess.
I mean, it's a good hat.
It's
I
a
always
great
go the
hat.
other way, so I was like, oh, I run from the other teleport. Is this smarter?
I think that's
It's not right now because I have made a lot of Hilly Trails mad, and
No.
I'm just hoping I have enough stamina to make it to the end.
Let's hope so as well. And that's something else that I do want to touch on as well. A lot of the colleagues that I know and the folks that I work with in coaching capacity in many different contexts maintain a full-time job as they try to work on and chip away and grow, if you will, the voiceover business, in hopes of one day being able to let it take over their full-time thing.
Yeah.
And I think that finding the balance between work and life and pleasure and so on and so forth is super important theme for everybody in whatever context. You, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, you live a pretty very complicated, very busy life,
Yeah,
as well as Rin and
there
myself.
is no
but-
work-life balance right now. It is only work balance. But that's, after working in game dev for so many years and not having a life outside of work, like an 80, 90-hour a week was normal. And I was working on a VO career, full-time game dev for years. And so it was just kind of like a side thing. And the most recent game job I had before I left games, I didn't have an 80-hour week. It was more like a 45, 50-hour week, so that was infinitely better. It was really hard to do all of that. And so right now I don't have a good schedule just because a couple of projects kind of pushed to the same timeline, and that was not the plan. So oops. Like, this is a sort of short-term thing of all hands on deck on a couple of simultaneous projects. Normally, something that I learned after that last job is self-care is so important. And if you are not in a good headspace, if you are not physically up to it, you can't do good work. And you have to take care of yourself, and you have to be good to yourself. And if you're not getting enough sleep and you're not getting enough, other things to fill your heart up, then you're not going to be able to do well in creative things because you're burnt out. It is so crucial to take care of yourself so that you can set yourself up to succeed, so that you can do good work, so that you can be present in your personal life. It's very easy to get trapped in work and to not find that. Some places where I'm similar to Ganyu, she works so much, often, to her own detriment. After doing that for years, I was like, I can't do that anymore. And I have to be able to fight for myself as hard as I fight for other people. Like, as a producer, I spend so much time going to the mat for quality of life for my team, but I wasn't getting that for myself. And that is ultimately why I left several places I worked. And, it can be very difficult, especially if you're switching into freelance life,
Right.
to figure out how much time do I need, because you're like, some days you're not working, but you're also working all day because you're pursuing work or you're doing other things. And, with the pandemic, we're all sort of available. Everyone's always on like Discord and Twitter and email and this and text. And so it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just have to shut it all off and be like, I need space for me so that I can refill my sort of like personal vessel so that I can do well. And like, I'm not succeeding in that right now.
Well, I'm gonna attempt to
help you. But I will again soon. So do as I say, not as I do. But ultimately my goal is, in finding that balance for me with, with streaming, with acting, now with directing, with producing. I'm still not a quote full-time voice actor. That is not my only source of income. And I pick up production, casting, etc., directing work in between when it's the quieter times, so that I can do the acting work. And it's very easy to accidentally overbook yourself. And it's gonna happen, because those things are outside your control, right? Like, you're working for clients and there might be oh my gosh, we need to do this thing, we need to re-record this, something was rewritten. Surprise, there's DLC, there's a marketing asset needed, this character is now Dutch. I mean, whatever, I don't know, like, things happen. But
I'm gonna attempt to try to help you with self-care and to preserve your voice, because it's been a long day.
Yeah.
As we watch Rin destroy Tartaglia here, but we are in a
Tartaglia.
co-op of 3 people. Right? We're in a co-op of 3 people, so this is more HP and more difficult than a solo run.
Are we
stronger version of it.
Are we just standing in the back?
I'm curious to see how fast it takes Rin to take care of Tartaglia in a co-op session with increased HP and more difficulty. Balance will have a field day with this one. I'm pretty sure he can't do on the sub 40 seconds.
No.
Or maybe he can.
Well, then I'll just stand at the back and try not to die.
I did recently fight him 64 times in a row.
64. I saw that entire video. My jaw was on the floor. So I'm curious as to see what Rin is capable of doing with Child with the 3 of us here. So let's begin.
Oh my gosh.
And as we go through this one as well, congratulations on your 1 year of streaming, Jen. Wonderful stuff.
But real talk about the balance. If I am in a in a situation where I'm going to be overburdened like an RPG character with too much gear, I just make sure that there's time off in between projects if I can, you know, and maybe if there's auditions coming in, I'll skip the ones that aren't one that I'm like, maybe I could book that, versus like, nah, I don't need to read on that. I don't think that's for me. I would rather have that 20 minutes back. You know, I've definitely been like, you know, audition or shower, audition or food, like food or shower, you know, in the last week sometimes. Like, which one am I going to do in this hour? Or maybe it's call best friend to, you know, get some heart points, right? Because that's also important. You'll find out real quick when you don't have it what is too much of one thing and not enough of another. And you just kind of triangulate to that perfect, like, here's how much sleep I need to feel like a successful human, and here's how much time I can donate to goofing off and watching TV. How much time can I spend pursuing creative things? And you'll eventually figure out what works for you, but you're probably gonna do it wrong a few times first, and that's okay. If you find yourself in a repeatedly unhealthy for you situation, just take a look at how you're spending your time and go, what can go? What am I willing to go? Like, what goes here? For me, I'm like, okay, I'm going and playing Genshin, I'm doing my commissions and condensing my resin, and maybe I'm hitting a domain, you know, for 15 minutes and then going to sleep, versus, you know, in a normal week I might play for a couple of hours here and there. So, but it's a learning process, and it's not something you really know until you do it, and it's going to change too over time. Weirdly, as I have gotten older, I need more sleep. I can't get away with the stuff I could get away with in college.
Same. No. I hear that loud and clear, especially at my age. My goodness, I completely agree.
Your age.
At the same time too, like the late night streamings, I can't do that anymore because I'm too old for it. At the same time, like the streaming element of talent for voice actors specifically, and the one that surfaces to my consciousness at this moment is Judy Lee, English voice of Yoon. Was
I
recently
love her.
announced. She's amazing. So good. What
Judy
a good
is so
person,
cool.
too.
And she comes from an audio engineering background, you know, from that side of voiceover, and so she's like a badass engineer, and she's an incredible actor, and she's just like a cool person. I hope she thinks that way about herself. No actor ever really does, but like everyone's always like, no, I'm fine. But I'm like, no, you're awesome. Like, please understand that you're incredibly cool. But anyway, sorry, I just got distracted by my commercial for
actors
Judy.
like her who are trying to create content and be in front of the fans and do more things with time and getting herself out there. Like, she's kind of interested. She's on the fence about streaming Genshin Impact and other games that she's into, especially as the voice of Yoonjin and so on and so forth. What are some thoughts of encouragement? Perhaps pieces of wisdom that could help her?
No, for real. I think the most important thing, because, you know, I have a lot of folks that say I'm interested in streaming, but I don't know if I can, quote, be a streamer. And I think the most important thing to realize is you do not have to make it your lifestyle. If you want to stream occasionally and just play games when the spirit moves you, if it's just I think maybe twice a month, it would be really fun to, I'm just watching this fight on the stream that I probably might have supposed to have been in. I don't know. I keep not knowing where people are, and then because I don't know the order, and I'm like looking at June's stream like I am not part of it, and I was like, oh, what is he fighting? Wait, I should teleport. I have not slept enough this week to multitask at all. No, but I think, you know, for anyone interested in streaming, like, try it, see if you like it, right? Don't feel like you have to commit to being a, like, you know, 5 nights a week streamer or something. Like, you don't. Like, that is not a requirement. You know, something I watched people do in my own community that was really cool is they would do little streams in Discord at first, and they would gather some folks and they would just share their screen and sort of do a stream there without going live. And so if that's something that interests you, maybe find some pals and play a game that way and see if you like monologuing for, oh my god, I'm so tired, you guys.
I know, right? I know.
You know, I think, you know, trying it out, seeing if you even like it, and then, you know, dipping your toe in and finding out what feels comfortable. For me, it was generally 2 streams a week and then a bonus stream when I have the time. And I was like, that's what I think I can commit and still, you know, do my job well, do my auditions. And not every week is that true. And certainly these last couple weeks I've had to make that call of, I am working till 9:30. I can't go live right after that and still do a good job in the morning. And my responsibility is to that. There is no mandatory minimum. You don't have to like push for partner or something your first go. You just try it, see if you dig it. If you dig it, keep doing that. But something sort of related to that I was talking to my best friend about is, setting goals. And he's like, what are your goals for your stream this year? And I thought about that, and I said, that's a really good question. He's like, is it growing your stream? Is it doing more stuff for your community? Is it more like what is it? And I said, I think my goal for myself is finding time to stream more of the things that I really enjoy, and there are certain things I've discovered in the last few months that I'm like, I don't enjoy this particular thing, so I'm gonna do less of that. And I think really it's giving yourself permission to try out different things and see what you like. Maybe you love just chatting. Maybe you hate playing games on stream. Maybe you like playing certain kinds of games on stream, but not others. And it's okay to keep changing that until you find what works for you. I think that's really the most important part of it. Like, honestly, for me, like, I was playing Genshin a bit offline like a month ago, and I just accidentally ran into some story stuff. Okay, I'm looking on your screen to see where I'm supposed to be going. And I was like, wow, this is such a different experience because, like, there's no spoilers, nobody's telling me what to do. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's gonna be some story things that I just save for me. And I go, nope, I'm gonna do this one for myself, and I'm gonna play this alone, and I'm just going to have that experience that I had in this game before I streamed. And then there's other things I can't wait to play sort of in a group, right? And those are the things that, like, I love doing Spiral Abyss, and it's fun because we talk about strategies and folks talk about their teams and what they're doing and, how they take on the different fights, and that's really fun for me. And I also, it's so frenetic, I can't see any backseating. So I literally can't tell it's happening. Versus when I played Scarlet Nexus on stream, I got so many new folks because it was a different game, and people were just being kind of unpleasant about it, and it ruined the game for me. I haven't touched it since. I was like, I'm not going to stream it, and at some point I'll go back to it, but it was such a sour experience. It was the only time I've ever streamed where I was like, I kind of want to just turn off the stream. Giving yourself the permission to discover what's fun, and if it's not the thing that you thought, to go, okay, well, let me see if there's something else that's better, or maybe I don't do this, and it's okay. My favorite streams are actually the ones when we play Boyfriend Dungeon, and I put up a little poll and we decide as a group like what we're gonna do and how we're gonna respond. And it's so fun because it's a community activity. It's a group choose your own adventure, and I love that. So I want more of that in 2020 and less of games that are really competitive feeling, where I have a bad time because I'm not playing well enough for whoever decided I'm not playing well enough for them. But that was something it took a year of streaming for me to think about. That wasn't something I knew on day one. And so
to realize, yeah.
I think it's really, deciding this is working for me, this isn't. What do I like about streaming? Like the question you asked us, every streamer should ask themselves regularly. Am I enjoying this still? What am I not enjoying about it? How do I change that so that I go back to loving this? That might be too much for day one for Judy and others, but I think it's important to check in with yourself and not worry about how everyone else does things,
Rooted in happiness of your own volition and motivations, and not worrying about what other people are thinking, what they're saying. Oh my gosh. Couldn't agree more.
Thank you for making it one sentence when it took me 20 full minutes to get there. You're like my verbosity condenser. Sorry, I got mirror maidens trying to murder me while I come to you.
I'm gonna have you redeem yourself because Where's Dave redeemed another dad joke, and I think this is actually Rin's turn. If you would do the favor, do us the honor, Rin.
Sure.
Please, Rin. I want to hear it.
Where's the dad joke? What we
It's
got?
in the lobby of the Discord.
I had some really bad German food the other day and had a stomach ache for 3 days. It was the worst.
I was hoping that's where it was going.
Let's also kind of try to come down to the last bits over here as we go. And this is a question I want to ask both of you. We'll begin with Rin first. What is one experience, one just personal life experience that everyone should, in your opinion, experience?
Oh. Oh man.
So we ran out of time before this one. This one's so hard.
This is a bit of a weird one, but going viral, does that make sense? Taking in like very sudden fame all of a sudden is a really quick reminder of how it can go really bad or really good. But I think it's important to experience, so you know, maybe not to get carried away with it and learn how to just take it in stride.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you do when people suddenly start paying attention is definitely something for anyone considering voiceover or other things. You know, you're immediately in the public eye. If you voice a character that people care about, Slash is hot, and that changes a lot of how you exist on social media for sure.
That's really good. Experience going viral. Love that. What about you, Jen?
My answer is so much less poetic. I feel like everyone should have to work customer service or retail or food service in their life because then the world would just be a kinder place. You know, people are always so mean when it's anonymous. Anytime I call up, like, if I need help, I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna yell at you and I'm not mad at anything that's about to happen. I'm having some problems with this thing and I have questions. And then you can hear like their shoulders lower like 2 feet and you're like, it's gonna be okay. But, you know, that's my glib answer, but something that everyone should experience, that I have experienced.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be like world travel or like something, but I'm like, I don't know.
Game development? Voice acting?
I don't think that's true. It takes a while, especially, you know, for me as someone who's changed careers, who's moved a few times in my life. It can take a while to find your people. You know, everyone should find a person who is their biggest cheerleader. You know, and find somebody in your life that you are excited about supporting and they feel the same way about you. Because that will make everything different. And it can take a long time to maybe find that person. Recognizing the folks who really are in your corner and giving that back. My best friend and I have known each other for 18 years, right? And I'm slightly older than that, so they have not been my best friend my whole life. You know, and really having somebody in your corner is obviously immense for your life, but I will say that there is nothing that brings me greater joy than when I get to do that cheering back, you know? And this is very schmaltzy, but watching my best friend in the last few years really start chasing the stuff he wants to be doing and should be doing and making progress in it is the best part of things for me. Like, I get excited, like, sure, I work on cool projects, I'm very lucky, you know, and I get excited, but I get so much more excited for my community. Everyone should endeavor to find a person who invests in them as much as they invest back out.
That's good.
There, boom, real answer. But it's like, you know, there's no walkthrough for that. It's just sort of trial and error.
It is indeed trial and error. And as we head into the year 3 of the pandemic, exactly in this manner of wanting to experience these things, living our lives as we once remember it to be. As we head into this whole thing, I want to ask you, same thing written here one more time, both of you. Rin first. What is the very, very first thing, Rin, that you're gonna do that once this whole thing is over? Goodness knows how many months and years it's gonna take. But once this whole thing is not a thing anymore, what's the first thing you're gonna do, Rin?
Flying back to Tokyo and getting right back into Japanese. 100%.
Oh, that's cool.
Because as the pandemic started, I was in Tokyo. And I did get sick on my way back. So I don't know if I might have had it or not already, but yeah, that kind of put a abrupt pause on a lot of things that I was doing. I had visited Japan 3 times in 1 year because I haven't gone traveling for over 2 decades, 3 decades at that point.
Yeah.
And as soon as I went flying the first time, I just got really addicted to it. So I really want to just get back out there and start flying and exploring another country.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's my backup easier answer, is save up and take yourself on a vacation. That's a much easier answer. Yeah, I didn't go on a vacation in my entire adult life until 4 years ago. I was always working, and I was like, nope, taking a week off of work, and everything can just catch fire, and that's fine. And I'm going somewhere. And it was exactly like Ganyu's story quest, y'all. My answer sort of ties to the previous, which is I used to either work with or live with my best friend, you know, for most of the time we've known each other, and this is the longest we haven't gotten to hang out regularly. I think we've seen each other 3, maybe 4 times in the last 2 years. A couple of times outside masked walk, and we had a went to like a doctor's appointment. Like we have the same doctor, so like we went and got like blood work done. That doesn't count as hanging out, driving to the hospital, but and eat real pizza. So I'm gonna get a real pizza and hang out with my best friend and just like play video games or watch a movie or do something in person. I want to exist in the same physical space, and I also want a pizza. So I figure 2 birds, 1 stone.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Just go and have a pizza.
I don't need to travel that far. I just want to go there.
It could not be more real. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see people. That's really it. I've been lucky to see a couple people here and there, like in passing. Like when I'm signing prints, like Christy and I have a print, she'll like drop them off and I'll see her for a moment. Or I've passed by a couple people for about like 10 minutes, outside. I'm very hermity, I'm very locked down, like I don't see people. And every time someone leaves, I just kind of break down after because you don't realize how much you miss these people. And so I'm lucky, like I haven't gotten to spend time with either of you in person, so I don't know how extra terrible it is that I don't get to do that regularly. But for people that, when you're working and you're taking classes and you see these folks constantly, to suddenly just not see anybody you don't realize how weird it is until you don't do it. And so I just want to like do a tour, or I'll just like stand somewhere. I'm like, I'm here all Saturday, just come by, I'll bake some cookies, just come by, get a cookie and a hug. I'm just gonna hug everyone. I mean, people I know, like, don't, please, if I don't know you, don't just come up to me and hug me like that. No, like, don't do that. That's really it. Is I just want to like make a snuggle conga line of all the folks I miss.
Well, those are valid self-care things. Absolutely. If you know Jen, please go give her a hug when this whole thing is over. Of course, she'll be on a public site.
I'll have a like yes hugs, no hugs sign. I'll be like hugs today. Yeah, but I'm never shaking anyone's hand ever again. Like I don't.
There we go.
Nope, not interested. Like I hope the pandemic kills that off. I don't ever want to touch strangers ever. I don't want to hug strangers and I don't want to shake hands. I want to be like foot 5.
We're gonna go ahead and bring this to an end. For Jen and for Rin. I don't want to hold them past 6 o'clock. They have their busy schedules. So I want to thank Jen Losi and rintaichou for being here for lovely conversation and mighty display of their amazing characters. Thank you very much for being here. Just briefly, what we're gonna do after this.
I'm very sorry.
After we let them go, I'm gonna go ahead and pull for Ganyu C1, maybe C2, and do an Amos Bow after a quick bathroom break. But while I still have you, Rin and Jen, one more time, Rin first. Where, if people are more interested in finding more about you and your amazing Amber, Rin, where can they go to find you, please?
Well, my name is rintaichou, rintaichou. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube if you just want to find all kinds of Amber content. And if you happen to be a Love Live fan, you can find that there as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Jen, where do we find you?
And the most fashionable, awesome person on Twitch, by the way, because every time I'm like, please style me. But yeah, you can find me. I'm Jen Losi on Twitch. I am occasionally existing here, but come on by, hang out, make some pals, and just let's exist awesomely together.
And if you haven't, please drop a follow for both of these folks. They have wonderful communities, amazing content, and they stream regularly as they can, of course.
The common denominator is folks who know and love June tend to be pretty cool. You're the glue. You're the glue that ties us all together. Well, I'm happy to stick around while you do your polls if you would like. Otherwise, I can stay a little bit longer.
I invite both of you to hang out, absolutely. Yeah, but it's almost 6 o'clock now. I don't want to hold you if you have things to do. What we're gonna do is take a quick 3-5 minute break so I can go use the restroom and come and hang out. And the next segment of our section will be the polling session for Ganyu and for Amos Bow.
Oh yeah, I can chill here, no worries.
Wonderful. Then we'll see you back here in 2-3 minutes. Everybody, again, thank you for hanging out.
Awesome.
Let's take a quick break. Go get some snacks.
3 weeks later.
And I went, how does that work exactly? And the answer is it does not. It does not work.
You know what doesn't work? It's computer simulation, and this is for Aiden IDK who claimed the dad joke. I ran a computer simulation on the state of the world. You know, the state of the world that we're currently in, and I want you to know that in 3,028 years from now in the future, it's 2022 right now, in 3,028 years from now in the future, things will be really, either really good or really bad. It's 50-50.
You lie on the
You know, it takes a certain level of charm to still laugh at that and love the person who says things like that, and that you are
3028.
fully maxed on that charm.
It's 50-50. Thank you. And the other day, my hairstylist ended up accidentally shaving my entire head. This is a wig. But to be honest, it's growing on me. No! Just kidding. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. My pulling tradition, my session.
Don't drink and pull, folks. Be very careful. I don't recommend this.
You know what else? This one's for Arco. Halved Fox. I'm getting bigger because pandemic. Hello, and so I had to buy a new belt. This is for Arco. I bought a new belt on Amazon. Oh, Jen, okay. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to do it, obviously.
Oh,
here, I got
dang,
one for
alright.
you. Since you play a lot of anime moms, I'd like you to hear this in an anime mom's voice, if that's okay.
Do you like some kind of like 90s like Ash's mom kind of like?
Oh, that'd be so
okay, we've got a mom joke then. Are you cold? Go stand in a corner. It's 90 degrees there.
Oh, mom joke.
Mom joke.
It's a mom joke now.
Mom joke. No, Sella, no.
I would have told a joke about a smaller angle. I find them cute.
The first thing we're gonna do is pull for Amos Bow, right? I already have a Ganyu, and she's currently using the harp, and she could definitely benefit from the Amos Bow. I just want one copy. Just want one copy. And before we go,
I wanted one copy of an Amos's bow once. Luckily, that can't happen to you because there's a new system, so you're fine.
Indeed.
Set your course. Make sure your course is set for the Amos's bow.
I have preset just to quadruple check, double sure to set it for the Amos Bow. My pull session and my tradition, as Klee tries to kill me here, is a fiery arrow over the gate. And the reason why I do this is in my secret hope that these 2 fire arrows will land on Timmy's pigeons.
I'm gonna go stand in the doorway and see.
And I make a little wish to myself that's what comes true, and then I do a 10 pull. So I'm sure they've killed a couple of pigeons. So let's see if the Amos Bow comes home for us. That's the idea. Cheers, everybody. Here we go. Ah, boy, I can drink soju all day. It's a Korean dad thing. The full ajasiness. Balance knows what I'm talking about.
We won't know for a couple seconds after how excited to be.
It's very true, and I'm very much in the early phases of the weapons banner, and I believe my first one is gonna be a 50-50 / whatever. So we got a ways to go, folks. Let's strap in and see what happens. Oh my goodness, there's no way R5 Tanto unless you're crossing your fingers for me. It's not.
No.
I don't want that to happen.
Don't need it. It's okay. What's really great is this is on the standard banner, so eventually constellations should come home.
I do. Naxella knows I do have a stream of ridiculous stream pull luck, and it's because of the ritual. I honestly think so. It's something about Timmy's pigeons. It propels my luck. Maybe not in this instance because everybody's watching. Everybody look away. Come on. It's not working.
I forgot how to play today while everyone was watching. Just like, come show off of my stream. And I was like, where are buttons? Do I press them?
But these pulls are... It's nice to have multiple 4-star weapons. And I'm loving it, which is great. But I'm not...
Dragon's Bane's pretty great, but...
It is pretty great.
Not going to be helpful on Ganyu, unfortunately.
So we'll see. We'll keep going and see what happens until the Amos Bow comes home.
I built the Dragon's Bane and like all the way to 90, like R5 for Hu Tao, and then I ended up getting the staff, which I didn't expect. But I had like spent every last Mora. What's it gonna be?
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, at least it's the other featured
At least
one.
it was exactly. At least you got a fate really quickly.
It's see, like I said in the previous joke, it's 50-50.
Yes.
But these poll sessions are to be taken as
I'll trade you
casually as
one.
possible. I'll take it.
I'll trade
Thank
you an
very
Amos's
much.
bow for that, so I can give it to Zhongli. I really
very
wanted to
kind.
roll for it, but I was like, nope, no pulling on this open spanner. Walking bread, how dare you?
There we go. Got it. Got a Sayu. That's nice.
Oh, awesome. Mine's
Come
only
on.
C0.
Give me that
I
Amos.
want to
Bow.
build her. Please.
What? What? No,
How?
that can't be. That can't be.
Wait, I gotta go look at something. I'm confused. Did they change how things... Oh, maybe it's different how it works now.
Did they change things around?
No, it should be like that. You have this. You failed twice,
Two.
and then
Failed
it's
twice, you
guaranteed a
get it on
third
the
time.
next.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's
I thought it
guaranteed.
was a 50...
Wow.
Oh, because you did get it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now it's just a matter of time here. Hopefully soon.
Wow. And I am trying my very best to not spend any money on this. as Rin laughs, that evil laugh.
Well, someone today was like, "Hey, Rin, are you gonna get Mika? Are you saving up for her?" And I was like, "Well, let me put it like this. It's not that I'm saving up. It's I have money, so it's not an issue right now. But I shouldn't promote it like that. That's not a very healthy mindset. But
Yeah.
I like the game enough that I will put into it. Right? Like I'm okay with it.
Right.
I'm not putting myself in financial danger. I
No,
would
but
like to remind
if
my
you're
chat
creating
of that.
content actively
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
is part of your business, it makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Absolutely, it makes sense.
We had like a real talk about that on my stream fairly recently.
Yeah.
And it's actually changed, like, you know, what I will pull and not pull on stream depending on who's present. But, you know, it's like I have a budget, and, you know, I'm also part of the content creator program, and I am a business. I can deduct it from my taxes, you know, so
You
it's
can, yep.
a different experience than, you know, if I wasn't streaming and I
Right.
wasn't a little LLC and I wasn't this and that. So I'm like, I have prereqs, but, you know, I buy the Welkin Moon and the Battle Pass, and that's my sort of like, you know, I play all the time, so I am okay, you know, paying basically a subscription fee to the game that I just put my paychecks right back in, really, is what I do. I think that's most of us, honestly.
No, I'm with you. I'm most definitely on LLC myself, and every expense that I utilize for my Twitch stream is indeed tax deductible. Speak to your CPA about your own journey, obviously. But I am also like mindful of what people see and hear and do.
Yeah.
And the role models of the society, people that look up to are needless spending money on this. Again, it's different for content creators because this is their product,
Right.
this is their job. Rin is justified, absolutely.
And I was like morally obligated to have a C6 Ganyu, like clearly. I was informed as much by the community, and I was like, I accept your wishes. Yes, we will do this.
I'm not the voice of Ganyu. I'm not the voice of Amber, so I'm not morally obligated in any way.
You're like, but
So
I'm
this-
emotionally invested in this bow, so that's
So
what's
this,
gonna happen.
look, folks, this is where I'm gonna stop, and I'm okay with it. And
Where
this is a
necessary.
wonderful lesson for everyone as well. Look, I had 18,000 Primo Gems, 31 wishes saved up, and I got nothing out of what I wanted. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It is.
I'm sorry that I feel like it was my fault because
No, it's Rin's fault. It's okay.
because of how many pulls it took me to get an Amos's bow.
What matters more is Frogger experiences that joke claim, which I will
That-
give it to him now. No! While I have the two of you here, this will be a very good opportunity for Amber PvP session.
Oh boy.
And look, if the two of you are gonna stick around, I fully intended to end this session because I
I can stay for about 5 more minutes, then it's time to make some dinner.
5 minutes. Okay, Amber PvP it is.
A few moments later.
I'd like you to get your amber out, Jen. Please. Doesn't quite require skill, but it's more about having amber here.
Right now, she has very much the wrong artifacts because I think...
perfect. We don't need artifacts for this one. That's okay.
We don't need artifacts where we're going.
Yeah, that's right. It's 88 miles an hour everywhere we go. And what I want you to do is step inside the fiery place and get your HP down to about 100.
That's going to be really easy because my HP is 3,200.
Oh, good. Just get it down to about 100. A little below, that's okay. About 100 or so. Rin has been gracious for showing me this.
Oh, God.
Team.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It wasn't fast enough. Okay, 125.
125. So, perfect. Yes,
okay.
yes.
We can count that? Okay.
765 and 68 is where I'm
at 2.
2. Very good. Please follow me. Please follow me over here. And what we're gonna do essentially is to use this entire grassy knoll area. And what I want you to do is light the fire, light the grass on fire, and make the other character step into the fire to kill them. Essentially, a little PvP session, if you will. And that's one way to start the battle. Ready? 3, 2, 1, begin. Here we go. And the last amber standing is most definitely the winner. And it does take practice and very good awareness of where people are in order to succeed in this manner. Whoa, that was close. I need to watch out for Rin. Oh gosh.
Oh, I just ran into fire back here.
Look at these two. Look at these two. The battle is raging. Oh my goodness.
I have no energy at all. I mean, neither does Amber, but
look at that.
It's not like I can be like, battle. Use my ultimate.
That's good tactic. Get some distance. Yes, indeed. There we go. Yes. Ooh, she's using the bunny. The bunny.
I don't know how else to do it.
Oh, it's perfectly fine, I think. But if you can grab Rin out of... Get in the way. Rin. No! But this is amazing. It's a great evading abilities by Jen. Ooh, firing back. Good. Light the grass on fire. Light the grass on fire. Whoa!
I'm like, I don't know how else I can light the grass on fire with her.
Firecrackers that I can help Jen with. Quickly!
Oh god, it's Yenfei, that's worse.
Where are you?
You killed Yenfei.
Thank you very much.
Oh Jesus.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm coming to help.
I backed into my own fire. Yep, that's okay.
Rin and Jen and everybody else in the chat, thank you very much for hanging out with me this afternoon. Jen Losi for being here, for rintaichou for being here, for the lovely conversation and everything else that they've shared with us so far. Thank you so much, both of you. It's amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
You're a treat.
It was good.